What's going on, everyone? 70% of the S&P 500 closed down in the red today, but the market itself actually closed higher pretty strongly as big tech stocks like Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, and others led the charge higher, with some stocks like Nvidia popping up by nearly 9%. So that was pretty nice to see, but it still has a good amount of work to do to recover from yesterday's $600 billion market cap loss. But everyone's looking at the market right now and is on edge because tomorrow is the big day where the Federal Reserve will make their interest rate decision, and the big man, Jerome Powell, is coming back for an FOMC press conference. Long story short, tomorrow's going to be a huge day in the market because of the interest rate decision, Powell's speech, and then a load of big tech earnings. We have a lot to cover today, and we have some great setups to keep on the radar. And besides that, Tom, I think it's that time to get right to it.
Yeah, the market tried to come back today and it almost filled the gap, but didn't quite get back. But overall, great recovery today following that massive drop-off yesterday. But everybody is on edge, like you said, Mike. Jerome Powell, the man, the myth, the legend, is coming back tomorrow. So pretty much at 2 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to get the Federal Reserve's interest rate decision. This is going to be where they decide what they're going to do with rates, whether they do a cut, a pause, or a hike. And right now, there's a massive chance of a pause, and we'll get into that in just a second. And then 30 minutes after that, Jerome Powell will speak, and what he says, the tone in which he says it, and I would say the outlook for the future is going to be something that traders are definitely looking for tomorrow with this overall event, Mike. But getting more into kind of the numbers for tomorrow, there's a 99.5% chance of a pause at this meeting right now. If it's anything separate than that, I think the market's going to go nuts because traders are definitely going to be caught by surprise. But like I said, I think the main thing is what's going to happen in the future.
Exactly. So like you said, everyone is looking to see, what's going to happen later on this year. And as of right now, there are two rate cuts that are expected. The first one is set to happen on June 18th, and the second one is set to happen on October 29th, as we can see on the chart right here. But while that's good to know, what everyone's going to be focusing on for tomorrow's price action is what Jerome Powell says, and like you said, how he says it. Jerome Powell has more influence on the market, and I would say the global economy, than basically anyone else, because he basically has an enormous influence on interest rates. And interest rates affect everything from stock valuations to mortgages to literally everything and anything you could possibly imagine. So depending on how he moves those, it basically controls a lot of like how the economy, will move going forward. So hearing his speech and what he is reading in the market right now, as well as with all of the recent events like the, expected upcoming tariffs and everything like that, is going to be very important. And I think tomorrow's event will be even more important than usual for events like this one, because again, this is the first Powell speech with Trump as president, and there are a handful of like big events and like things to keep on the radar over these like next couple of weeks and months, especially on the tariff side of things.
Yeah, definitely. And I know I'll definitely be watching the yields in the short term as well. Like the US 10Y is going to be very important. You can see how much it's been shooting up in the short term. And, we recently had one of these big money plays on TLT as well, which we'll definitely be talking about more in the video. So definitely stick around for that. But also, Mike, like what yields do and what Powell does and everything that obviously that the Federal Reserve is trying to do will impact tech stocks, which are going to impact the market in such a crazy way. And looking at Nvidia today, it seems awesome, right? Like Nvidia was up 8.9%. We're recovering back. But then we zoom out and we're like, oh my gosh, yesterday was just so bloody that we'd have to recover all the way back up to like 142 to really fill the gap all the way back here with Nvidia. So good recovery day today by tech overall, as we can see by the heat map, but it just wasn't really enough to, like, I would say, get the full recovery going.
Yeah, and I think it says a lot how 70% of the S&P 500 actually fell down today. And I think like looking at some of these big tech stocks like Nvidia and how it was up 9% today, it is a little bit misleading because you hear 9% gains and it sounds amazing, but when you look at the bloodbath from yesterday, it certainly has a lot more work to do. So we're going to talk more about, some specific SPY levels as the video goes on, but we also have to talk about some other tech stocks like Microsoft, and it's pretty good gains from today, and how Microsoft is supposedly in talks to buy TikTok, according to Trump. So check this out. So yeah, as we can see right here, supposedly Microsoft is one of the potential bidders to buy TikTok. There are a handful of investors that are looking to scoop this up. But this is just like another thing that I think is relevant, especially considering that Microsoft will be reporting earnings tomorrow after the bell.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. And Trump always says the funniest stuff. They're like asking him like, hey, is Microsoft actually doing this? And he's like, I would say yes, before adding that there's great interest in TikTok. Some of the answers are just hilarious, but nonetheless, this is a good sign, I would say, Mike, that Microsoft's doing this. We've heard a lot about Oracle and Trump trying to push them to go for TikTok, and it looks like Microsoft's trying to do it too. Now, I would say, Mike, let's say that Microsoft does want to buy TikTok. I don't know. There might be some regulatory concerns there. They always get mad at these big tech companies, especially Microsoft buying up other ones. So very interesting, though. And the stock was up 2.9%. And I thought the really good thing with Microsoft is that it was one of the tech stocks that did actually recover up all the way from that drop and push past the high from yesterday even.
Yeah, that's great to see. And, looking at some big tech stocks to keep on the radar for tomorrow, Microsoft is definitely towards the top of the list, but we can't forget about Tesla and Meta as well, as they all report earnings after the bell. And we can see the rest of the earnings schedule for the week with Apple, Intel, and Visa set to report after the bell on Thursday. But tomorrow, I would say, is probably going to be the most important day of the week when you have, all those big tech stocks reporting, plus the interest rate decision, plus the Powell speech. It's going to be a hell of a day.
Yeah, maybe even the most important day of 2025 yet. And if you guys think so, let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people thinking that. Of course, Trump's inauguration was a pretty big event that ended up going on as well. But definitely be ready at 2 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. Eastern time for the federal interest rate decision and Powell speech as well. And then on Thursday, we do have the GDP growth rate. And then on Friday, Mike, we have the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge, the PCE data coming out there as well. So it's definitely an action-packed week here in the market, that's for sure.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, Tom, looking at some SPY levels for tomorrow. It's the big day. What are the key levels to watch in both directions?
Yeah, this was huge for today. SPY almost filled the gap all the way back to the upside, but ended up rejecting back down right around the 605 resistance. So for tomorrow, I'm definitely keeping my eyes on $605. I guess the high of day today was closer to like 605.40, but for the easiness of this and just with how much SPY's reacted at 605, definitely watch 605 for tomorrow. In general, always give or take a little bit with some of these levels with the SPY. But I think it's going to be very important as well to watch the resistance where SPY started to fall down 2 days ago. And this is where the big gap happened into this week and where a lot of traders started to really freak out. So if we start to see SPY push back up to that 607 point, that's going to be the major resistance that we need to see SPY push back above. If we can get that push, I think that would be a great sign. Of course, there's a lot of big events tomorrow that could make this happen. Now, if we start rejecting down, we have some big supports on watch, Mike. $600 is going to be huge. And then, of course, the recent low all the way down around 590 is going to be crucial as well. There is a lot of minor supports mixed in. I'd be here all night listing them off, but I definitely wanted to make sure that I got these larger levels like 590 and 600 at least listed out.
Sounds great. So yeah, I'll definitely keep all of those key levels you mentioned close on watch. $600 is a pretty big psychological level, so definitely keep a close eye on that. And like another thing that I thought was somewhat interesting is we have SPY making like higher lows right now in like a broader sense, where we made that recent low yesterday right around 590. When you compare that to some of the other recent lows, that's generally a good sign. But at the same time, we have been seeing some stronger selling pressure in the market over the past, 2 days or so than we've seen in some time. And it really goes to show you how quickly like the direction can turn, because, that sell off on Monday was pretty nasty, and we've, recovered pretty strongly so far. But, it goes to show like if you, if you don't protect yourself, like there's a lot of pain to be had.
Yeah, there is, and you always have to be adapting out there and even be ready for that tomorrow. The Federal Reserve has been shifting their stance a little bit, and I just want to remind people, Mike, if we go back to the Federal Reserve's last interest rate decision, now this is kind of where the SPY started to kick off its last little sell-off from December 18th. It sold off for a while until it made these new recent highs, but this is literally right where Jerome Powell spoke last time and where the market started to tank. So be ready. They shifted their policy a little bit, and they talked about a lot less rate cuts. If they keep up with that tone, the market might not love it.
All right, Tom. Well, let's jump right into some setups and predictions then. A stock that is close on my radar is ticker symbol ZM, Zoom. This stock crushed it today as it popped up by over 8%, and it is getting very close to some of its recent highs, right around the $93 level. Right now, the stock's at $88.50, and it is moving with more and more momentum. In the grand scheme of things, this stock is still very oversold, and it is in the process of, strengthening quite a bit. Ever since it reported earnings back in August of 2024, it has really, been uptrending in like a strong way, and it goes in these like cycles where like it uptrends like super crazy strongly, and then it calms down for like weeks to even months at a time. Then it just repeats the same thing over and over again. And the price action over like the past week so far has been some of the strongest price action Zoom has seen in quite some time. And we could see whether we are looking at Zoom's uptrend from the end of October, or even, the end of November, or even the end of August. There have been multiple times where like once Zoom like builds momentum, it can last for like at least a couple days at a time. So it's definitely close on my radar, given how close we are getting to some of these recent highs.
Yeah, whenever this stock starts to really break out, it loves to run, and it seems like it's at like the end of this overall downtrend where like it's getting to that point where we might start to see that breakout, Mike. I like this setup quite a bit. I'll definitely be watching it tomorrow and even the next few days. That is for sure. With my first setup for tomorrow, I'm looking at Royal Caribbean, which had some really good earnings this morning, and they're sitting right around $270. So if we're able to get a solid breakout above 270 tomorrow, I'll be watching RCL back to the upside. It's an earnings continuation play, and something that's a really good positive about RCL is that candle today broke them out above their recent and all-time highs. So definitely keep watching this one in the short term, because it'll probably be showing up on a lot of scanners and just radars out there in general.
Beautiful. Yeah, that stock crushed it today, so I will definitely keep it close on watch as well. But another one, as you guys know, is TLT. That is definitely on my radar. I know I've been talking about this stock quite a bit in the short term, and it's been doing pretty well. Nothing too crazy, but the uptrend has been pretty consistent, and we recently saw a $3.2 million big money trade on this one. These options are getting closer and closer to finally being in the money, and TLT is something that moves a lot with interest rates. So the more interest rates fall, the higher TLT goes. And tomorrow will be just an insanely important day for interest rates. So I expect this stock to move in a way that is, stronger than usual. So either way, TLT is definitely on my bullish radar, but understand tomorrow will be pretty crazy.
Yeah, it definitely will. And I think tomorrow's going to be kind of like a make or break day for these yields here. Like if we see a move tomorrow with these yields, yields that results in a huge recovery and push higher, I'm definitely going to be worried about this recent high breaking and another move up, but I'm definitely leaning to the upside with TLT just like you are, and that big money play has been pretty awesome since it's been called out. I know it's been a little flat, but in general, we've seen a lot of good action with those yields starting to come back. But with my next setup, I'm looking at Moderna, which has been on fire in the short term, and we actually have some really good price action on the Bookmap. But from today, it got up to around $45. There's even a recent high from last week, very close to like 45.40. Now, as we go to Bookmap, there is some resistance a little bit past there, and I'm using the Bookmap to help me out here because I'm seeing 45, like 60, and then even $46 has quite a bit of sellers stacked up. So if we can really push up through this area, I'll be watching for some good momentum with Moderna. They've had some good catalysts in the short term that has helped push them higher with some cancer vaccine potential and news related to that. So keep watching them, but I really want to see these sell walls break. And shout out to Bookmap. Make sure you check out the links in the description down below to get access to the X-ray vision here.
There we go. And yeah, definitely keep a close eye on that $45 area as well, as we do have a pretty decent sell wall there. So good stuff, Tom. And let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have NNDM to the upside.
Nano Dimension sitting right around $2.50, a good 8% pop out of them. If they can break $2.50, then watch them to the upside.
All right, with the next one, we have MSTR to the downside.
MicroStrategy ended up falling down a bit today. If they fall under the low of day right around $333 even, then keep watching them down. That was a pretty good wick there.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Affirm to the upside.
AFRM, if they can break out above $58, which is pretty decent resistance, then go ahead and watch Affirm to the upside as well. Not up 8%, but pretty respectful here at 4.48%.
There we go. So we have Affirm and NNDM on watch for potential moves to the upside, and we have MSTR on watch for potential move to the downside. These three stocks are momentum plays tomorrow if and only if they break through the levels listed. The stronger these stocks move, the better the setups become. Have stop losses and protect yourself, because trading without a stop loss is, just something that you definitely shouldn't do for multiple reasons. It exposes you to a lot more risk than, what is even necessary. So have stop losses, protect yourself, and as always, be more than happy to adjust and flow with the trend changes, especially on a crazy volatile day like tomorrow with the FOMC interest rate decision. But Tom, we also have a very exciting big money trade today coming in at $7.6 million with ticker symbol BABA, Alibaba. So this stock crushed it, especially towards like the second half of today. Basically we have some more AI news. So basically what's going on here is the big money bought the 115 strike call options for December 19th of 2025. And at the same time, Alibaba came out with a new family of AI models, which is what actually sent the stock running higher today. As we know from yesterday's DeepSeek AI panic fears, AI is getting a lot of attention right now, but with BABA, it's definitely looked at in a positive way because they are looking to, join in on and in this competition. So basically, investors loved it and are bidding up the stock in a pretty exciting way.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into this too. Like, I've read through so many things here. Like, one version of this AI claimed it can analyze charts and graphics, extract data from invoice and stuff, which doesn't sound too crazy, but then comprehend multiple hour-long videos and stuff. And they have a whole bunch of different ones here with multiple things that go on, like this one with software from PCs and mobile devices. And I just found this to be extremely interesting, what Alibaba was doing here with this AI stuff. And it kind of reminds me, Mike, kind of like how there was a bunch of talk about data centers in the US going towards nuclear power, right? So then everybody jumped on board. Now it's kind of like we got these Chinese stocks here getting on the AI train in a bit of a way. But I found this to be an extremely interesting big money play. $7.6 million. It expires at the end of the year. This can kind of be a set it and forget it type of play. Now, I will say there will be a lot of talk with China stocks this year. If you can't handle the heat, you might want to get out of the kitchen with these, because especially with the tariffs and everything, there's probably going to be a ton of volatility, but I think it could end up paying off pretty well in the long run.
Yeah, so it's going to be a very exciting year with Chinese stocks. There's a lot to gain, and there's also a lot to lose. So $7.6 million trade like this one definitely should not be ignored. You know, this trade definitely has some time to it. The options are a little bit out of the money, but given the volatility of this stock and just the situation in general, I'm not that concerned about the strike price. Either way, it's definitely a stock that'll be worth watching very closely, and this short-term momentum is pretty awesome with BABA, but even other Chinese stocks like Baidu, ticker symbol BIDU, has been moving up in a pretty strong way, as well as ticker symbol KWEB, which is an ETF of Chinese stocks, which is like a bunch of them all under one ticker symbol. So keep a close eye on BABA, Baidu, and KWEB in the short term, not only because of this trade, but even because of all of the tariff news that will probably get more clarity on over the coming weeks. But yeah, definitely an exciting group of stocks to watch.
Yeah, China stocks, and there's always that risk out there with China, right? I mean, hopefully they don't talk about Taiwan anymore, right? Trump said that he would make that stop, so he better. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens when the tariffs start coming out, but just be ready for a little bit of volatility with them. Obviously, just give the play the time it needs, though. It's not something. Now, while I do think that there's a lot of hype with BABA and potential in the short term, this is not a play where the big money's probably not going to be exiting anytime soon.
Exactly. What BABA does tomorrow basically means nothing. But either way, a $7.6 million trade is worth keeping on the radar. But before we continue on, we have to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Cosmoc in the StockedUp trading floor, who had a great post today showing some awesome profits on multiple different tickers. So huge shout out to you, and keep up the great work going forward. It is awesome to see screenshots like this one, and it's definitely a great way to start out in the trading floor. So keep up the great work going forward. If you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. Our search bot did pretty dang good today, as some RCL call options popped up by 350%, CCL call options by 315%, shop call options by 224%, snow call options by 155%, and so on. You get full access to our search bot, as well as our army of custom trading bots. You could chat with Tom and myself all day long, join our weekly live events, and access more resources than you probably even need for trading. If you're into short-term trading, it is the place to be. Definitely check out that first link in the description, in the comments down below. And if this is your first time watching a StockedUp YouTube video, welcome aboard, and consider obliterating that subscribe button if you haven't already. It takes us hours to make these videos, and we cover all of the most important news, information, events, chart setups, big money plays, and everything else in the market in around 20 to 25 minutes or less. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.